Hello, all you cosmic travelers and wanderers. This is Darlene Vandergrift and K. Melissa Waterman, inviting you to join us today in our episode of Expansion from Within, Exploring Multidimensionality.
So welcome, everybody. Here we are. It's episode number 49. We're continuing to talk about wisdom. We're really talking about the integration process that happens when you go from getting some information to turning it into knowledge and owning it, and then having that cook a bit, and that turns into wisdom. So I wanted to start today by reading what I read at the end of the last episode, which is from the Evolves. Is that good to do now?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So here, this is from the Evolves. Pay attention, everyone. Do not push against your future to try and hold it back. What is important is for you to accept what is given in universal time. You're not 100-year-old souls. You are 1,000-year-old souls. If you believe you are right, you will attract everything that tells you are right, which doesn't necessarily mean that you are right. So believing in something is not trusting yourself or trusting spirit. Believing that there is a greater power in this world and the universe is not believing, it is trusting. When you trust, you get more. We encourage you to not believe, but to trust. Trust what resonates with your heart. If someone wants to believe in them, if someone wants you to believe in them, we would encourage you to trust what you know and not believe in anything other than your inner knowing, trusting yourself more than another. To be fully human is to be fully conscious, fully creative, not built on another's will or desires. You are invited to surrender to the all, to let go of old habits, patterns, and personality issues, and to surrender to the unknown that is full of curiosity, hope, love, and creativity. This is a new year for humanity. We have gone through several years of reorganization as things have fallen apart to be put back together in a new form. This will continue to happen as it has not yet reached its peak, but now is the time to work within a collective to shed the skin of the past and surrender to a new birth. So much in there. Surrender to a new birth. So the part we're going to talk about is how do we trust our inner knowing? How do we move into that trust? Not just believing, but trusting.
I think it's a process. I mean, we learn how to not trust ourselves. We learn to not how to trust others in our life experience. And so when we say discerning and trusting ourselves, can be very foreign for people. Of how do you know? How do you know? Especially if you're a big doubter, trusting what you think and feel and gut feelings sometimes just doesn't resonate with them. So it's getting rid of the doubt and feeling. I guess the best thing is the feeling, but first the person needs to be in touch with their body.
Right. Yeah. Getting in touch with our body and following and learning our body's signals is a whole huge. I mean, it's been a lifelong process for me to trust my body, to even acknowledge that I have a body, and listen to it. Yeah.
Right. It's that wisdom. It's that innate wisdom, that innate knowledge that gathers everything in the subconscious and then provides us with information if we listen to it. If we paid attention to it, provides us with the information that will help us evolve, help us come down the line, help, in our own growth, but it's learning that you have a body and paying attention to it and don't ignore it.
Right. I remember when being a very young woman, probably my early 20s, and whenever something kind of exciting was happening or I was looking forward to something, I'd get a pretty big bellyache, like to the point where I'd want to go lay down. And as time passed, I mean, originally I just thought, oh, I have some kind of nervous stomach. I need to take medication. I need to find out what meds. There's this gas X or whatever, back in the day. that I could take and just deal with it medically. And then as I got a little more open-minded, I realized that my body was trying to tell me something, that I needed to soothe it or that I needed to calm myself. And now I don't get that kind of anxious gas for, like gas pains in my upper belly like I did, but I acknowledge my belly. Like I know when I have a sense in my gut that there's something going on. And now I lean in and I'm like, oh, what's happening? What's going on? Like somehow over the 40 years, didn't take that long, but I eventually tuned in, like there's something my body's trying to tell me. And the other thing that comes to my mind about it is as a therapist, I often will get a body sensation and I will right away say to myself, is this mine?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, not mine. And if it doesn't go away, if it's not mine, it will go away. If it is mine, it will stick around. And then I have to ask more questions.
Mm-hmm. And two things come up for me. I, in the last 10 or 15 years, will get either a body symptom or a dream
Mhm.
that I think is mine, and then it's my client the next day. So it's like, oh yeah, that's why I went through that last night to figure out what that was. And here this person is in front of me. And I
Mhm.
had an interesting experience this week with not listening. It was really bizarre. I thought, like you talk about your nervous stomach, I felt like it was an issue that came up and it felt like I had a pot of coffee. And normally I don't drink that much coffee for that very reason, right? But all day, I mean, from 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I was in this pattern of not listening to the anxiety but just doing what I wanted to do. Like, I don't care. I don't care that it feels like I'm flying high. I want to do what I want to do and I want what I want. And yes, it had an outcome that was for me spiritual, but that place of consciously saying, I'm not going to sit down and try to figure this out or to feel my body because I don't want to.
Right,
I don't want to
right,
because I want what I want. I didn't
right.
get what I wanted. And
Yeah,
then
but
I listened to my body.
but free will is big here, right? I mean, that's
Oh,
your free
yeah,
will choice. Like here,
yeah,
the guides may be trying to throw a little bit of body response at you, and you're just like, shh,
yep,
no,
yeah,
not doing it.
not going
I,
there.
I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and how often does that happen? How often, like aren't we all really good at saying like, wow, after that car accident, I had a funny feeling that was going to happen.
Mhm.
Boy, it would have been nice if I paid attention before I crashed my car, before I, had other, whatever the thing is. I don't know what, it could be all kinds of different things that you have a sense, but in hindsight, you knew, you know?
Yeah. And it's that moment to pay attention to and not
Right.
discount it, not discard it, not say it doesn't matter. And it's like whatever level you are, you could be practiced in this, right? In paying attention to the body. And that was interesting for me in this experience because normally I would say, whoa, 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 what's going on here that I need to pay attention to? But I overrode all of that in order to think that I was going to get what I wanted. And I didn't. And so I really understand addiction and obsessions from that. Like that was really for me a very close um a very close thing to addiction and obsession is to go, you just don't pay attention
Right.
to what your body's trying to tell you. You override it
Because you wanted something.
because you
Because
want
you,
something, because you think you need something.
right. Another experience that comes up is this has not happened to me as much as has happened to good friends of mine that were particularly sensitive people. And, where they were just getting to know their spirit guides, just starting to understand how to communicate and follow symbols and signs from their spirit guides. And they would get overwhelmed with body sensation, like
Mhm.
hit upside the head. And we all learned at the same time to say, I have the message. Chill out. I got it. Not that we should be disrespectful, but like, I hear you. You don't need to keep telling it to me. So I try to teach people that along the way as well. Like once you get the message, if it's a headache, if it's a pain, if it's a joint and you're in pain, once you figure it out, remind the guide. So I've got it. I've got it now. You don't need to push the signal onto me. I hear you, you know. And usually that works. Usually it's a little bit like the not mine thing. Like,
Yes.
uh, uh, once you say it, if it's really not yours, it's not. It goes away.
Well, I think in behalf of our guides, no matter who they are, where they come from, or our past life selves that are part of our guidance system, I think humans have been, through example, are seen as thick. You know, they don't get it, so you have to push them. It's like, so I think in some ways that is true, that we don't pay attention. We're not taught to pay attention at that level. Wouldn't it be nice if the 5 and 6 year olds, could say, oh, this is why I have a bellyache, Mom, because this happened in school today, or
Yeah,
I'm afraid of a test, when they're
yeah,
10 years old, or, but we're not taught. Like the body is just this vessel that we're assumed that will take care of itself.
right. We take it for granted. I think we
Yes.
take our body for granted. Yeah. Well, and the other thing I wanted to talk about today was about learning from, like, in the process of trusting our inner knowing. I mean, certainly we're learning from our body. If we're paying attention, we're learning and we're getting more information and more little tools and ways to maneuver. But there's this whole thing about learning from two by fours, being smacked upside the head by really intense experiences and learning from pain,
Yeah.
um, from the hard side of things. And I know we talked about it a little bit. So I want to know, like, what do you think about? Is it a programming? Is it like, what is that about that we learn? It just seems like, we have little sayings about another, what is that, AFGO? I don't want to say that a bad word on our little podcast, but it's another bleep growing experience.
Yes.
It's like we make jokes about it, like, oh, here we go. We got so much to learn here and it's so hard. What's that about, you think?
I don't think it's a spiritual programming. I do think that pain and suffering is something that we've been taught that humanity learns from, or that life is about pain and suffering. That comes from religious places, that comes from, cults, that comes from a lot of various, of various modalities and whatever is that pain and suffering. Like we're taught that that's it. We came here to learn lessons, and to learn lessons, it has to be painful and you have to suffer. Well, that may have come true in some way because we didn't pay attention to our body. So that's the body language, is through pain, not necessarily suffering, but is through some sense of pain, discomfort, annoyance that's in the body to let us know something else is happening. You haven't paid attention to this that happened 3 months ago. And so I'm going to make you have allergies, or I'm going to give you a bellyache, or I'm going to give you heart palpitations, or I'm going to get, like, where does that really start? So if that's been going on for how many thousands and thousands and thousands of years, then we assume that humans learned through pain and suffering, which I don't believe it's not true.
Well, how do we learn then if it's not through pain and suffering?
If you are integrated, if you have taken information, knowledge, and moved to wisdom, if you accept the fact of why we're even here on this planet in some way, what does this have to do with our evolution? If you take a look at the equality and the oneness of everything and everyone, if you had the 7 seed principles that you utilized in your life, then we wouldn't have to learn from pain and suffering. we would learn from each other in a very different way, not through hurting, not through wounded. We would have discussions with each other to say, wow, that makes sense to me, or, I can't quite agree with that, but that's okay for you. But we don't do that
Well, we do a little here and there.
here and there. Not
The other, no, and not enough for sure. Not enough. We're not emotionally evolved enough, I think, for the real freedom that you're talking about. One of the things that I talk about a lot is how do we find meaning when something negative happens? Can we find meaning? Like, can we get wisdom? Can we be looking for the wisdom of what's happening to us? What is it, just that we're victims? Is it just that, bad things happen and we have to just be mad all the time that bad things when is it going to go my way? Like, well, I don't know who said it was going to go your way. Like, when did that get set up? I'm not sure.
or
I've
or that premise of when is it going to go my way, you attract more that doesn't go your way, right?
Right. Well, even though it's a positive, when is it going to go my way? There's some negative implication there that it's never going my way, and I'm a terrible, this is a terrible victim that it's not going my way. But what do you think about the idea of looking for meaning, finding meaning um, in what is painful, what is current suffering for whoever?
I think you have to be willing to let go of the damage, to let go of the woundedness, to let go of the hurt, to let go of whatever you're involved in that has created any of that, right? You have to be willing to say, okay, yeah, wow, I just had this loss, or this person said something not nice to me, or I didn't get the job or whatever. So it's about rising to that place of saying, yes, all that is true. And is there a reason why this happened? Right? Is there something that's more meaningful? Is there something? And I don't know if everybody can pinpoint that. That's pretty hard sometimes to pinpoint, why did this just happen? You know? But I've talked to somebody this week that was talking, she did an interview with me, and we were talking about relationships and how you keep attracting the same kind of relationship based on your woundedness, right? So at some point, instead of playing victim, 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 or why did this happen to me, or I guess I'm not lovable, or whatever we do to ourselves, at some point, I think you bring yourself to the place that's happened 25 times in my life, right? With the same kind of man or the woman, or the same kind of relationship in business, or any of that. What is it that I need to do about me? It must not be always about them. What is it that I am doing or not doing or thinking or believing or being, but you
Right.
have to come to that place to say, I want to know that. Some people don't.
Well, I agree completely, and I'm finding that there's a number of people that I know that want to use the law of attraction, think they or do understand the law of attraction, but this whole idea of negative thinking attracting anything doesn't. That's not part of it. Like, I'm only going to attract what I want because I want it. But there's every minute of our lives we're putting out a frequency, and
Mhm.
that frequency is often based on our thinking. And if we're thinking, oh, poor me, oh, why is this always happening to me, oh, oh my God, I'm not going to have enough money, chances are great that those thoughts and feelings are manifesting things in your life. I don't mean to blame anybody, right? It's a tough topic because people feel very blamed, and like somehow they're not doing it right. And in fact, they might not be.
Right. And I think that's why the evolves in our Sunday meeting, once a month. I think that's what they're aiming for, is like, if you clear your belief systems, your patterns, your old karma, your
Right.
genetics, your family dynamics, if you clear that and you have a better understanding of it through that information, you'll have more knowledge of who you are. And then it'll be easier to look at the patterns or the belief systems or the internal dialogue that we have that could be creating more of the negative,
I
right?
think
Because
that's
if you're clearer, you'll attract something different than the same pattern.
right. It's all about awareness, right? Because some people don't even realize they're in negative thinking about the worry about money. It's just the way it is, and it's reasonable to keep worrying about it because there isn't enough of it and it's justified. When in fact, oh, wait, we're in this moment. We have enough in this moment? Are we alive in this moment? Is it all? Yeah,
Mhm,
let's just be grateful for that. And I don't mean it to sound like spiritual bypass. Like I'm all about acknowledging what is hard, what's painful,
mhm,
what's gone wrong, but it's there's something about diving in and sticking with it and having it be a pattern. That's the part where you really, if you worry one moment and then you stop, no problem. Acknowledge the feeling, acknowledge the worry, love yourself up for it, and whatever process you have, and then get to like, wait, what's really yummy here? What's
mhm,
what's the possibility? Aren't there just as many positive possibilities as negative ones? Like
mhm, mhm,
anything can happen. I happen to buy a lottery ticket. Oh, probably once every 6 months. I mean, really not very often. But just having the damn thing in my wallet, I mean, it's old, but I just feel like I could already be wealthy. It's in there. I'm probably a winner. I'm all set. Like it can really feel the difference in my body. Like, yeah, every time I see it when I open my wallet, oh yeah, I could be a winner. I'm all jazzed.
I think that that is a really good point that I'd like to have a lot of clients and I have worked with them this way, is that they need a safety net. Some people need a safety net, even if they never use it,
Right,
right? A friend that you know is going to have your back, or that
right.
somebody's going to bail you out if you get in trouble. There's those people, those things, whatever feels like it's a safety net for somebody,
Mhm.
feels like it allows you to fly.
Right, right. Well, that's my little safety net. I'm really super wealthy. I've got $147 million in a little lottery ticket in my wallet. I just haven't found out whether it's true or not yet.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna walk in like it is. Yeah, yeah. So let's see what's on my list. So I notice also some people, they follow the signs that come. A bird, like, we talked about last time, with the bird being on the screen, and I took that to mean that someone was visiting me. Um, but some people follow signs until it doesn't turn out right. Like the outcome isn't what they had expected. And then they think the signs were wrong, or that they weren't really signs, or that they somehow backtrack. And I just wonder about that, because we're trying to find and trust, like what the evolves are saying. Like it's not just believing, it's trusting. It's really knowing how to trust. But if we don't have a little foundation here, it's harder to trust, right?
Yes.
If I can make all these mistakes and be on the wrong path because I didn't follow the signs, that makes everything pretty shaky.
Mhm.
Um, and so I just wonder if you could speak about that a little bit.
So you're asking about the hanging on to of, so you something happens and you see a sign, and then that person would hang on to that sign to prove in some way that it's not real. Is that what you're asking?
I'm sorry, I'm not clear. It's more like, I think a good example would be, I saw a blue jay today. I'm going to buy a lottery ticket. It's gonna be a winner because of that blue jay. I know it. I know it. I feel it. It's good. I buy a lottery ticket. It is not a winner.
Hmm.
Oh, now I'm deflated. I don't know about the sign. I don't know how to trust myself. I used my last $10 to buy the two or three or four tickets. And, I don't mean to make it all about the lottery, by the way, but it's like a little too short.
Yeah.
This,
You have to learn how to let it go. right? It's like that place that we talked about on many times, of that seeding the field, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I saw a blue jay today. I'll buy a lottery ticket. You send it to the field. If it doesn't come back in the way that you think it, you say thank you very much and you move on. Like
Right,
you have to let it go, or you're in your old pattern, you're in your old beliefs, you're in the attracting something
right,
else.
right. I'm remembering a client who, you know, wanted a particular relationship, and there were certain, a heron showed up, and the heron was representative of this other person that was their animal person, animal, totem animal. And then the relationship went bad. I mean, they had a relationship, but then it became a very difficult relationship. And they want to say, see, following signs aren't bad, or they really weren't signs at all. And it's like, wait a minute, maybe you were really meant for everything that happened in that relationship. Maybe it went perfectly for your soul's journey, and you got pushed up against in a way that was right. So you would self-reflect about not feeling like a victim, not feeling like the signs are wrong, but actually going, oh, what did I learn? What meaning can I make of this hard moment?
Mhm.
And then keep moving, and then not stay stuck in it, but keep moving, keep
Keep moving.
going.
Yeah, it brings up a client, man spoke to me about, I think he listened to it. He went to a psychic. He went to somebody that told him that this woman that was in his life was somebody that he needed to pursue. And he did. And it was really not good. And
Right,
so it's that place of discerning and trusting and taking a look at what is the reality around my relationship. And that particular thing is what is my relationship with this woman? Not that, oh, somebody told me this that doesn't know anybody, but they're a psychic, that he needs to pursue this woman. And what he did, it was horrible. So,
right,
it's again that place of how much do you turn over yourself to someone else, you know, psychics, anybody, mediums, any of that. Like, are they just telling you what you want to believe,
right,
or are they valid in what they're saying? You have to feel that, not
right,
just not just say, "Oh, that sounds really good," because that's what I want, right? That's what I want. That would be really nice if that happened, and you pursue it in some way and you find out, well, it's not about you not following your own intuition. It's about you not following someone else's.
right. That's exactly right.
You know,
Yeah.
if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it, or
Even
don't think about it, or don't try to make it real.
Well, and even if you really want it to be right, if you have that feeling like it's not right, do your best to listen to that,
Yeah.
right? Because there's probably something there.
But I do agree with what you said, that it could turn out really horrible. A relationship, this or that, could turn out really horrible. There is always something that you grow from.
Right,
1%, 20%, 90%. There's always something that you learn from that. It's just that, can we flip that switch from the, oh, this happened to me, poor me, or I'm sorry that this happened, or deflated? Do we move to something that says, what did I get from that? Like this thing that I was telling you this week, right? That happened to me. I moved through a lot of feelings when it didn't work out. But the bottom line of the person that it didn't happen with, right? This event didn't happen with, I could move into a place of compassion and love. And that felt real, like I didn't hold on to the disappointment. I didn't hold on to the anger that I might have had. I didn't hold on. It moved pretty quickly, like within 12 hours of saying, wow, I really feel sorry and compassionate for what you might be dealing with, that you did this.
right, right.
And that feels pretty darn good.
Well, it's pretty good evidence that you're, pretty open and pretty awake. It's, your emotional IQ's high, and that you're willing to find meaning in what goes in a negative direction. Like that you're on, I mean, it sounds so silly to say, but you're on the path of love. Like you're looking to be an agent of love all the time, Darlene, as I hope I am as well. I don't know how complete that is for me, but it's my highest desire. If I
Yeah,
have a soul journey, it's to move more into love than anything else.
because it feels really good in your body,
Yeah, it
doesn't it?
does.
And it's not that it doesn't have to be that passionate, first time in love with anything. It just feels really like it quiets, it's calming. It gives
Yep.
you a piece of assurance. It puts a smile on your face, you know?
Right.
And it resonates. Like I think it's a healthy, it just allows your body to feel really seen, healthy, vibrant, all of that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to bring it back around to this knowing and wisdom, it's it's solid, right? It's
Mhm.
a solid, good. It's almost a little better than neutral, right? Like it's just a little more content than neutral. But neutral's right there on the path, right? Neutral feels like a real doorway into
Into
this
it. Hmm.
into this. And if there's a lot of anxiety or a lot of energy, that good or bad, it's
Hmm.
not same as that kind of knowing. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mystery because I can't put technical. I can't give you any specific words that define this knowing more than right before I go to sleep. Like I feel pretty content, but it's very different. Right?
Yes.
It's not the knowing unless I'm having a conversation with somebody from another planet. That's different. But if I'm just going to bed, it's just nice, but it's not knowing. So
Right.
it's worth exploring for our listeners. It's worth really thinking about and kind of pushing yourself to figure out, well, what's a knowing and what's just believing? What's just following? What is the information I'm listening to actually solid?
Hmm.
And are the people I'm talking to about it solid? Is there conflict? If I talk to another person about it, does it create more chaos or does it end up being a smooth situation? I mean, that doesn't mean that you won't, I can talk to some people about some of the more outer limit stuff that I believe in, and I can see the conflict starting, but I'm not interested. And I'm just, I guess, get the info.
Right.
I get the idea rather that, oh no, they're not the right people to be talking about this with. But it doesn't mean they're bad. Just they're in a different state. They're
Right.
in a different and I'm in. It's not that they're doing anything wrong at all. So
If you can view your inner knowing, your innate wisdom, if you can view it as a muscle, you have to exercise it.
right.
It just isn't there for most
Mm,
people. It's just not there. But it is our mediator. I think it definitely is our connection, our mediator, our resonance with spirit.
right.
So if you exercise that, you lean into it, you believe it more, you trust it more, you do that within yourself, you eventually it becomes part of you, and it's not even a question anymore that do I trust this or not?
Right. Right. That's my experience actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Certain things for sure. There's still some I doubt, but for the most part, I'm getting there.
that's good.
So I think that's probably it for today. Any last words?
No, I think it was an important discussion that can go in many different ways, about how to trust ourselves, because when we don't, then we become followers.
That's right.
And that's where we are today in a lot of places, is we're just following whatever our woundedness is. We need somebody to speak up for us that is a very angry person, that is violent, that is whatever, but they're going to be our leader. And you've had woundedness about that, whether it's this lifetime or other, you're going to follow. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have some announcements as usual at the end of our podcast. This episode is connected to the teachings that were presented in the March live Cosmic Traveler event, and those materials would help you. They're during the meditation that was presented at that event. They'd assist you in this topic. So feel free to contact Darlene at soulunion.com if you'd like to order a copy of that recording. Of course, you can contact Darlene at soulunion.com for any reason, including to give some questions if you want us to address those during this podcast. You can contact me at livingwellbeing.net. The Cosmic Travelers have a session that's live on the third Sunday of each month. It's pretty interesting. All people participate in a guided interactive meditation directly with the evolves. You can contact Darlene through soulunion.com for payment instructions and for the link to attend that. Cosmic Travelers has a Facebook page, and you can search for that in groups. I think that's about all we've got today.
That is, thank you. Just remember, you know more than you know.